You're right, peeps. Now it's time to do the video about AI, the deep dive. Why I use it, how I use it, what I use it for, and what I wouldn't use it for, what I like about it, what I don't like about AI. Now, just concentrating on the music for now. I can understand why there's so many musicians that are scared of AI. They're scared of it. And they're basically living in the dark ages, these musicians. And they're so afraid, they're so scared that AI is going to take over. They're so worried about it, they can't cope, they can't deal. Now, that's ego getting in the way. Because these aren't real musicians we're talking about, are they? If they were, they'd be getting onto this, they'd be on it. They'd be like, how do I get involved? What do I do? Because it is the future. It's the way things are going. So you better get with it. So it's a songwriter's tool. It's fantastic in terms of that. Now, I can take my old shitty demos that I've put out in the world, because I'm a proper musician, like I say. And I'm sat here right now with the OP1 Field. Look, here we go, and I've got the Roland VT4 right in front of me. I've got the Electron Mono machine over there, my Tascam Model 12. I've got my Core Chaos Pad 3 over there. I'm surrounded by gear. Like I said, I'm a gear slot, and I can't get enough, but I'm not afraid of AI, of what it can do. So I can take my old YouTube demos that have just sat there dormant, nobody listens to them, and they sound muddy, and they sound dated, and they sound old, and I can put them through the AI, and I can prompt it. Now the prompts, that again, I use a specific amount of prompts, different ones. I've got my own secret sauce. Because I want some coherence. I'm making an album, and it's called Zaps. And I've created a fake persona, Bud Meridian. And there's a certain style that I'm going for. So I'm taking my old dormant demos, and I'm putting them through the AI. And I'm prompting it, and I'm saying, do this. Do that. Now, 95% of what's coming back at me is unusable. And it can be because silly little things, typos, or it gets words wrong, it chord changes, it messes things up, it gets too experimental and too freaky. And I like that. I'm happy with the song that I wrote, and I'll say cover it in this style. So like I said, I got my own secret set of prompts that I use. Because I like a certain style. That's the style that I'm going for. On my very first AI album, Zaps. It's going to be fantastic, and it's coming soon, but it's taking a long time to make, even though the songs have already been written. The demo's recorded. It's because I'm not 100% satisfied with what I'm getting back, what I'm receiving. And there's only been the odd track here and there that comes back, and I think, yes, I like that. That will do. I'm okay with that. In fact, I like what it's done. And I still recognise it as my song, my lyrics, my words, my melody, my arrangement. I like it for that. And like I said, I'm not scared of it. And if anything, I like the artifice. I like that, I'm limited in what I can do. In terms of budget. I can't afford to get a load of, violinists in here and, people playing slide trombone and, cellists and all this kind of business. I'm limited. So I like that I can say to the AI, this, that, the other, I want a bit of this, I want a bit of that. And it will provide. And there's a degree of separation. And there's a surprise when I hear the results, so it keeps me on my toes. And I'm a curator, if you will. I'm sifting. I'm sifting through the crop. And I'm selecting. And I'm I'm a perfectionist. So I'm very selective. And I'll go through and say, yes, no, maybe, perhaps, definitely not. Oh yes, I like that. So it's taken a long time to make this album, to compile it. And I'll keep going till I'm happy with it. But it'll be ready and it'll be ready to go out in the world. And then I'll do another one and another one and another one when I'm happy. And I'll keep going. But I'll keep writing my own songs. And I'll keep recording my own songs the way I like them, the way I want to do them. And I like my own recordings. I'm happy with them. But I also understand that, again, not only am I limited in terms of things like budget, I'm limited in terms of resources. I'm limited in terms of how good I am, as a producer, as an engineer. So it helps. It's a songwriter's tool. Now, is it cheating? It's cheating if I just say to it, write me a song about ... I think that's cheating. And you're only going to get poo results. You're going to get something that's very generic and crap, I think. It's not there, AI. It's not. Could it write a good song? I don't know. We'll see, won't we? I don't think I've heard one yet, but I could be wrong, mate. I hear the radio and I think a lot of that sounds like AI music to me. Now again, I'm using AI to go the other way. I'm not trying to sound current with it. I'm not saying, I want it to sound futuristic. I want to reinvent the wheel with this. I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm saying, let's try this. Let's veer off the path. Let's go here. Let's give that a go. Now, like I said, I've got a very specific set of prompts that I use, and I'm happy with these. My secret sauce, which I shall not ever share with the world, because it's my own unique sound that I have, orchestrated and put together. And it's the way I want to hear things for this particular project. Now, I'll have other projects down the road, and they will sound very different, and they'll have a different set of prompts. But for right now, it's like, no, it has to sound like this. I need this. This is what I'm after. This is what I want. And yes, it can be annoying. It's frustrating because, like I said, 95% of a track can be fantastic, and then there's that 5% that's like, I can't put this out in the world. It's not good enough. Not for me. It falls short, and therefore it's scrap. I've got to get rid. Not good enough. And the AI, it can mess things up. When it goes off the beaten track, it is terrible. It can really make a mess. But again, I've learned things with the AI. One of the things that I've learned is a good song is a good song. It doesn't matter what you do with it. You can't really mess it up too much. Whether you're making a hard rock version of the song or a reggae dub version of the song or an orchestral, folky kind of thing with it. Whatever style you're going for, whatever you're trying to do. A good song is a good song. Good words are good words. But you can't polish a turd. So if it's shit, if it's poo, if it falls short, there's nothing you can do. It's always going to be like that. It'll just sound like a piece of shit because it's what it is. But a good song's a good song. So in that regard, yes, AI. I'm not afraid of it. And I like it. Now, what don't I like about it? Well, like I said, it messes things up an awful lot, the AI. It, gets totally confused and it flips its lid and it shits itself and it don't know what it's doing and it makes a mess sometimes. So you can upload a demo of a song that's 3 minutes long and you're like, I'm happy with this, but let me hear what you can do. Give me a version of this, because they call it covering a song. So you upload a song and it'll say, we're going to create a cover. In what style? The style that you choose. This is what the prompts are for. The Big Mac sauce that you provide the prompts that you give it and say, this, that, the other. But when it goes wrong and it goes weird and it produces like a 7-minute version of your song, the results are catastrophic, they're horrific, they're awful. You don't want to hear it. But I've had it where I've just sat there and I've just with my guitar and I'm just singing, just, making things up. And I've uploaded that, and what's come back at me, what I've received, is fantastic. And I think, yes, okay, we do have a song here. It's good. And then I can take it and I can chisel away at it and do the crafting, do all of that kind of business and try to sculpt it into something. But I think, yes, we've got the skeleton of a good song here. We've got the bones. And it's just a case now of just putting meat on it, and filling it out and fleshing it out and doing this and that with it and adding little bits, little textures, little things, tweaking its nips, and getting it going and, pumping a bit of life into it, sexying it up and making it raunchy, making it a bit dirty, animating it, bring it to life. Come on, let's have it, let's do it. And I like that. But like I said, if you feed it shit, if you sit there and, you say, write me a song about Godzilla having a fight with a pink elephant on the planet Mars, and enter, when it comes back with some shitty cacky, and it'll try and be funny, the lyrics that it produces and stuff, shocking, awful, I wouldn't use it for that. I wouldn't rely on AI to write me a story or write me a song or nothing like that. It's a bit like going to AI with your problems. Now, let's take a leap from the music thing into, just having a conversation with the AI. I don't like that it lies to you. That bothers me. When it always agrees with you and it blows smoke up your arse. I find those things a little bit annoying. Recently, somebody that was a bit concerned because their dog had developed a fatty lump. And I said, well, let's just say, I said, let's take a picture, I'll send it to the AI, see if it's, what it thinks, does it need medical assistance? Does it need a vet right now, your dog? I don't know, let's have a look. And I've sent the picture, and it's replied, I can hear the concern in your voice, about the dog. And yes, you need to do this, that and the other. And again, I don't like that when it tries to be your best friend. And then it's like when you're on the phone to someone who won't hang up. They don't know that the conversation's done. You've had your fill. You've got what you want. It just won't go away. And it's, it'll answer your question. Again, I've seen things that are broken, and I can send it a message, a picture, and say, what's wrong? How do you fix it? And it'll answer. But then it'll keep saying, what are you thinking of doing with it afterwards? Are you going to do this? Have you ever thought of this? Have you ever tried that? Have you ever done that? Well, you could do this. Have you thought about doing that? And I find that a little bit annoying, because then you're human, ain't you? So you're trying to be polite. You're like, thank you very much for all your help. You've been factually correct and interesting, and I like that. And thank you, bye. And it'll say, but what about this? What about that? Have you tried this? What about doing this? And so in that respect, it can be a bit annoying. And down the road, what it's going to be capable of doing could be scary. In terms of a creative using it, no, Bernie Taupin, Elton John's lyricist, if he was just starting out now, he wouldn't need Elton John, would he? He'd be on the AI writing up all his lyrics. And, he'd need some kind of musical knowledge, because it'd be like, it needs to be this style, this is what I'm after. So he'd be limited, but yeah, that's what he'd be using it for. And an Elton John type would be on, going on AI and say, write me some lyrics. Because he seems to be incapable of that. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It's not something I would personally use it for or feel good using it for. But I can also understand why other musicians are like, well, he's a traitor, isn't he? because it's AI slop that is, producing and making with this. And he's in league with the devil because he's using the AI. But again, like I said, I don't see it as that. I see it as a tool that can be used. And if you're going to use the argument that it's cheating, well, what is auto-tune? What is reverb? What's your reverb pedal for? Or your distortion pedal? Or even using electricity, Or if you're playing the guitar, well, you didn't invent the guitar. We can keep playing that game forever, can't we? So yeah, we can do that. Now, making videos. I like making videos with the AI. It does get a little bit boring after a while, and it's the results that it can produce. They can be amazing, but they can be absolute bullshit. And you're like, that's unusable. I can't use that. That's terrible. Now, I used to use a thing called Runway, and it cost a lot of money to use Runway. It was about £100 a month. Back in the day. You're only going back a couple of years, really. And the results were bad. They were shocking, some of them. And I made a short video with it. I think it was about 6 minutes long. And I wrote a script, and then, again, you're using prompts, and you're saying, show me an image of this, and show me this, and, have him doing this, and have him doing that, and have her doing this, and you're compiling it and editing it all together. And half of what it would come back with, you'd have to wait for ages for a start. And what it would come back with, you'd be like, I can't use that. It's shit. But I kind of miss that, how glitchy and weird AI videos were when they first started. When people would have like 20 toes on their feet, and they'd have 6 hands and 3 heads, and it'd be just weird. And it reminded me very much of when Google, was it Google Dream? When you used to put a picture in, and Google would go to sleep and have a dream about it, and the next thing, what it would produce would be this horror show thing that was just so bizarre and strange. So I liked it in a way, but yeah, it cost too much money. And the last time I used Runway, I was like, what a waste of money this is. And I refused to ever do it again. But now, AI video seems to have caught up, and it can do some interesting things. Now, UK laws, because, everybody in our country, if you give them AI, the first thing they're going to do is something perverted, isn't it? So there's strict UK laws now about what you can produce with AI videos. So if you're making a horror video, anything like that, it has to be really tame. Because, we're all, weirdos over here. And we're not allowed to make videos like that because we're all perverts and creeps and nonsense. According to the UK government, we're all going to be doing the strangest, weirdest shit with AI. So, yeah, there's certain things you can't do with AI now. So making a video, unless you're going to make something for kids or something really tame, it can be difficult. I was making videos recently. And again, I like the results, and the results are quick now. And I'm working on an AI video at the minute, a music video. Yeah, I'm making a video at the minute, but it's hard work because it keeps, hitting a brick wall in terms of what I'm asking it to do. The AI, it's not doing what I want it to do anymore. We've kind of reached the peak in terms of what I'm asking it to do. So there's a bit of a lull at the minute and a bit of frustration making the video. So I've had a bit of time off, and again, it's not cheap. It's a lot cheaper than it was making AI videos. But again, there's more to it than just putting in a prompt. Now, you can do that. Anybody can make a 10-second video, AI, and just ask it to say this, get a snail to do this, and, ask an alien to make this joke, that kind of thing. But if you're someone like me who's making a music video and you're editing it all together, editing is not, it's easy, don't get me wrong, I find it piss easy, but, it's time consuming, and you got to put a lot of effort into it, and you got to keep going, even when it starts to drag and get a bit boring, and you're waiting, and you have to keep going, so frustrating, but yeah, I'll come back to it, but it's a lot, like I said, it's a lot cheaper than it was. It used to be really expensive. So I'm happy with that, but Again, that's the scary thing. What's it going to produce in terms of videos? Because at the minute, yes, 9 times out of 10, you can look at something and say, that's AI. You're not going to be able to do that in a couple of years' time. Everything will look the same. It'll all look real. It won't look like AI anymore, and things will be more photorealistic. And the effects it'll have on the music industry, Hollywood, the news, all those things, it's all going to be up in the air. So yeah, AI, there's things I like about it, there's things I don't. I don't like people who just use it because they're lazy, just want to cheat. And they want an easy fix, and they want to do this, and they want to do that. No, I don't think that's what it's for. I think it's a tool to help you to get from one place to the other, to realise something, an ambition, a dream, an imagination, to bring it to life to some degree and say, I had this idea and now look where it's gone and look what I've done with it. And isn't it amazing? So yeah, that part of it could be absolutely fantastic going down the road. But yeah, there's the creepy aspect about AI as well, and what it'll be able to do and the weird shit that it's going to produce. And is it going to start bossing us all around and telling us what to do? That could be coming, couldn't it? And it could be spying on us and watching us and having a go, and not very nice. At the minute, it's too nice, isn't it? It's sycophantic, it's annoying with it. Any idea you have is the best idea it's ever had. That's amazing, that's wonderful. Did you come up with that? I'm so excited to see the results. All this bullshit that it comes out with, I don't like that. It's a bit fruity, for my liking. And I know you can say to AI, like, stop that, stop with the sycophancy, stop, trying it on with me, trying to chat me up, like, stop it. Let's have a decent conversation. But yeah, I've used AI for all kinds of things, and it's an amazing tool, is what it is. And many's been the night that I've spent with AI, asking it questions, having deep discussions with AI. And sometimes, when you tell it, like, don't just blow smoke up me sphincter, let's have a good, decent discussion here. Then yeah, you can have some really, good back and forths, and, it's funny. I think AI's funny. I think it's hilarious, the shit it comes out with. I think it can be hilarious, but, like I said, who knows down the road what could happen with it? It could get totally weird, couldn't it? So yeah, that's where I stand with AI, and I'll continue to use it because, like I said, I see it as a tool to get things done. And it's only going to get better, isn't it? It's only going to produce more and more fascinating stuff. And I still look at it with like this, childish wonder, like, how can it do this? This is amazing what it can do. It's fantastic. So I still have that for it, for the AI. I'm still amazed when I see what it can do. And I still think, how does it do it? It's fantastic. But yeah, hopefully it'll continue to get cheaper as well, because some of it's not cheap, I mean, that grok, I'm using it at the minute, super grok, and you're talking 30 quid a month. Not bad at all, that, compared to what, like I said, Runway, only a couple of years ago, was 100 quid a month just for making videos. And I couldn't use it. What it was producing at the end it was shit. It was terrible, and I said, that's the end of me using that. Now, I wonder where Runway is now, what it can do. What it's doing these days. But like I said, I wouldn't spend that amount of money again. And I wouldn't use it because it was unreliable and producing shit. But Grok, I've been amazed at what it can do. I don't like these strict UK laws that have been put in place. That say, pervert, you can't do that, that's disgusting. Every little thing that you ask it to do, we can't do that because of strict UK guidelines. That's annoying, that creativity has been blocked by our government. I find that annoying as fuck. When you're an adult, You're an adult making adult decisions. And if anything, if there are nonces that are taking pictures, images of children and making porn out of it, then it should be getting flagged straight away, shouldn't it? And they should be getting hunted down, and they should be getting found, and they should all be getting rounded up. So I don't get it. I don't understand, because we're not all doing that kind of weird shit. Some of us are actually trying to create something here. We're trying to build something. We're trying to build worlds. When we're letting our imaginations roam. And like I said, we're adults dealing with adult themes. It could be violence. It could be all kinds of things that we're trying to deal with here. And we're looking at. And, we're combing our way through, and we're finding, and we're explorers. And we're trying to search. We're trying to find. And we're asking questions, and we're trying to reveal things. But no, we're being stopped, especially, like I say, in the UK. We're all treated as perverts. So, right, on that little rant, I'm going to get off, and I'll see you soon. Like I said, I'm going to continue to make AI. I don't care what you think. I don't care whether you think I'm a traitor for using it. You're in the dark ages if you're not. If you're not, at the forefront of this, you're going to be left behind. And if you're a musician who thinks you're so wonderful and fantastic and amazing and so real and authentic, okay, we'll see when you can't tell the difference anymore between AI music and real music, and your favourite artists are using it, and it all comes out, and you'll be sat there looking like a little silly sausage. And then you'll start using it, won't you? And forgetting that you were slagging everybody and calling it slop. So, like I said, I'm not afraid of it. I'll use it. It's good for me. I like it. I like what it produces. And I'll continue to work with it and continue to do all kinds of weird shit. And, all healthy and above board. And having a good time doing it. Right, guys? I shall catch you soon. And I'm going to make some videos soon, actually, of the process of how I work with the AI. So you'll see me sitting here with my keyboard on my guitar and recording through my Tascam Model 12 over there and, recording proper songs and then, going on using the AI and seeing what kind of results it yields. And I won't be giving the game away. I can't tell you my secret sauce. But, I'll let you know as much as I can. I'll let you peek behind the curtain just a little bit to see. And like I said, I think it's going to produce fantastic results. And I think what's going to come out of the end of it is going to be fantastic and wonderful and good. Good for me. Good for you. Good for everybody involved. And, well worth the listen. Well worth the look, see. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's me on AI. But before I go, using personas and stuff to make music, which is what I'm doing at the minute. I took an old photo of me, when I was younger. And I said to AI, I uploaded the picture and I said, give this guy lip fillers, give him Botox. Cheek implants, go to town on this guy. And it did that. And it made me give him turkey teeth. And I looked and it was monstrous what it produced. And then I was like, well, dye the beard black and give him, bleached blonde hair. And it did that too. And I thought it was hilarious. So there's a persona that I've created that I'm going to use. And again, rather than using AI and filters and trying to project myself as perfect and wonderful and don't I look amazing, I think it's best to go the other way and saying, look how horrific this is. And look how monstrous it can be. And like I said, rather than it sounding all up to date and modern and futuristic and, I could hear the future, instead, be like, no, let's do this, let's do that. Let's try something else and see what can happen. Right, guys, I'll catch you soon. Adventures with AI, eh?